Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Today's a special show. I have Steve from Serious Keto. He is a channel that I've been watching for longer than I can remember, really. He's probably got more recipe videos than anybody else. So let's talk to him about that and see how it's go- see how he's doing anyway. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. It looks like we've already got a good question for you here. Let's go ahead and see. Looks like our friend John Gugahan, it's not how you pronounce his name, but that's what we call him around here. He said he just wants to know how you're feeling.
I'm still a little rough around the edges. Tuesday will be 3 weeks of bronchitis for both my wife and for me, and it's starting to lose its novelty. Just the persistent coughing. I hope not to cough too much during all of this, but no promises.
Oh, no worries. So I just kind of wanted to get started here with a couple of questions and also just kind of get an idea of, for anyone who may not be familiar with who you are, how you got started, because your keto start and your YouTube start are not necessarily, they don't coincide necessarily like
They're
mine don't.
they're fairly close.
Yeah.
So I had done a six-part series on my channel, probably overly long, but I felt I had a lot to say about how I kind of found my way to keto. And the shortest version I can give you is I spent the better part of 50 years just abusing my body with a lot of junk food, a lot of alcohol, a lot of stress. Um, for a while, a lot of tobacco as well, and then in 2018, just everything kind of caught up with me in conjunction with a lot of personal stressful events, including losing my job at GE as part of a layoff, just shy of my 50th birthday and 20th work anniversary there. And, I was in horrible health, and I figured I needed to take control of my life before it ended, because I was a mess. So I figured the first place to start, the first place I can take the most control is with my diet. So I spent about 2 months just sort of cycling through some different ideas, including, I tried the very radical potato fast that Penn Jillette did. And, then I spent a chunk of time straight up vegan, and that's miserable. No one should ever go through that. And then, during that period, I said, okay, what am I going to do at the end of 2 months? And because I still got a bunch of weight I want to lose, and keto, the reason it appealed to me above like paleo or the Mediterranean diet or some of the other low carb options out there was cheese. And since I'm a Wisconsinite, that kind of sealed the deal. So it was, I think, in January that I officially went keto. I'll have to look. I've got a spreadsheet and a journal, and I can figure out what the date was. But it was probably, I think it was in February that I started serious keto. So that's the, I was going to say too long don't read version, but it's still kind of long.
Yeah, I was what I was going to talk about is your meticulous data-driven videos that you have. You have obviously the normal recipe videos, but even those, they seem there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than most people know. I mean, you mentioned that in your videos too. You know that you've been working on this video, working on that recipe, trying to get it dialed in. And I don't think that's something that most of us do. I don't. Some of my recipe videos are, I have the idea, I'm going to put it into action, and I record doing it, and then however it comes out is how you see it. So that comes from your job at GE, from what I gather from watching a lot of your videos.
Yeah, I spent
Um,
a number of years at GE and other companies because I'd left GE twice. Those 20 years were not contiguous. But early on, it was right around 2000, GE really started getting into Six Sigma and lean and just process excellence. And I gravitated to that. It's sort of it's a natural to me. And I got very into statistical analytics and teaching that in a way that I mean, statistics is not fun for most people. And I wanted to be able to teach it in a way that made sense to a layperson. And then they could go, oh, okay, I get it. And that they could look at processes within their own job and say, oh, okay, this is wasteful. This is not adding any value to my end customer. And, this is a process that's inconsistent. How can I make it more consistent? And yeah, it became part of my DNA. And as a result, I do a lot of recipe testing, a lot of experimentation before I start. And I think that's sort of reflected in my videos.
Yeah, I just watched your the chip cracker video you put out. I think it was yesterday with the
Yeah.
cottage cheese. I'd seen a bunch of the cottage cheese recipes, as you stated, like the keto twins and such, and they all involve the microwave. And I'm just not like a huge fan of the microwave. Um, I even use my air fryer to warm up food most of the time.
Mm.
So um, I was glad to see that you came out with a recipe that utilizes the oven over the microwave.
Well, and I had started actually the genesis of all of this desire to make a chip. For a long time, I referred to on my channel this thing I called it the recipe. And I was trying to make something that could be almost a universal batter. It could be, it could make chips, it could maybe make a pasta, it could make tortillas. And, I'd gotten close enough that I had given the recipe to Dennis from Black Tie Kitchen. And, he had it and he's like, man, this is great. And I'm not quite there yet. I'm 95% of the way there, and I don't want to release it until I'm all the way there. And I then shared it with the top tier of my channel members, the executive chef tier, and said, listen, if any of you want to help me work on this, here's the recipe. I'm going to create a spreadsheet or Google Drive sheet, whatever they call them. And as you alter certain ingredients, just update it in terms of texture and so on. And one of my viewers said, Ketogenic Woman has got something remarkably similar to this. And I'd never seen it. So I went and I watched her video and I went, it's too close to what I've got. And she did it first. And I was just concerned that then if I released mine, it would look like I was plagiarizing her when it was complete coincidence. But that involved, there was, egg white and canned chicken. And where I went different from her is I got a little bit more into the molecular gastronomy aspect of it. So I had some transglutaminase in there as a binder. I just got a text from Dennis at Black Tie Kitchen. I'm not sure if he's watching or not. He probably just heard me shout out, or his ears started ringing. But yeah, so I kind of I had abandoned that, and that recipe really revolved around using a dehydrator. So when I started doing the cottage cheese recipe, my first thought was, oh, I wonder if I put a little egg white and some chicken breast into this, and made that into the puree. And but first, let me just try out the cottage cheese. Don't introduce three variables all at once. Get one down and work it. And it took about 10 hours in the dehydrator to make the chips. And the texture was pretty good, but I started thinking, who has a dehydrator and wants to spend 10 hours making a batch of chips? So then I started experimenting in the oven and eventually dialed in the right time and temperature, and then added other elements like using a number 50 disher, a little ice cream scoop, so that I could get consistent chips, just edge to edge on the tray in every batch. That's what I want on any of my recipes, to make it so that they're consistent, and anybody tries it and replicates what I do, they should get the same results. That's my hope. So I don't have to troubleshoot what happened in the comments.
And one thing you brought up is you didn't want to seem like you were copying or whatever ketogenic woman. I think that you said her name was.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who she is. So if you were to make that recipe, shout her out, then I would know who she is, and I would have seen your video, so I would have known the recipe. I think as a very small creator, I think we kind of look at like, should I make a video that Steve's made? Should I make a recipe similar to what Steve's made, or keto twins, or two crazy ketos, whatever whatever that may be? There's going to be people who find your channel that don't find mine, people who find mine that don't find yours. And I think as a community, we're trying to better everybody who watches our content. That's the primary directive, right?
And usually that's the direction I go in. I mean, I abandoned this chip about a year and a half ago. And at the time I had put so much work into it to see that someone else had come up with something, probably less than 10% different just on our own. It was deflating for me. It's not that any of us have got a patent or a copyright or anything
Right.
like that on a recipe, but yeah, I felt I felt crushed that someone else had come up with it too. And so I'm just like, tack with it. I'm done.
It's like I have a recipe video out there where I have made like a chicken strip batter. It's simple. It's just egg whites, or you can use whole eggs really. Because I bought the and one day I went to this grocery store and I bought the fake egg beater stuff by
Okay.
mistake because the egg white and the egg beater look similar at the grocery store brands. So I used it anyway. It's not great, but I used it anyway. Or So basically, it's egg whites or eggs. It's Parmesan cheese and a little bit of oat fiber.
Hmm.
And you mix up as a batter. Make it extra. Make it needs to be more runny than you think it needs to be. You dredge in your chicken tenders and fry them up in lard or whatever, and they come out amazing. And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a video that everyone's going to see, and like hopefully people will pick it up and make it themselves." And it never had that impact, but it's so good. I wanted more people to know about it, but
One of the things I'll probably work on next month in terms of breading is I got a couple sample packets of the flour from Unbelievable. And he says you can't, it won't work for making something like bread. Um, but he said, it's wonderful for like fried chicken and making like a real Southern style fried chicken sort of coating. But he didn't want me to do that video or any other Unbelievable Buns videos until he gets caught up on orders.
yeah, I saw that you were talking about that in one of your podcasts where you're saying that you had made sure they had plenty of business.
I warned him. I told Jared, I said, "Listen, man, I hope you're ready because my viewers, I've got a bit of a reputation, for honesty, and when I don't like a product, I let people know. And if there's even like something about a product that I in general like, but there's this other little thing that I don't like oh, it's a little too much psyllium husk in the chew or something like that. I want people to be aware of that, and it's my hope that I've established a degree of trustworthiness within my viewership that when I come out and I say I love this thing, it's going to sell. And I loved the Unbelievable Buns, so I told Jared, you better be ready, and he said I'm ready, and he's
He wasn't ready.
he's learned the definition, I guess now.
But that's a good problem to have, I guess. But I think that's also kind of one of the reasons why we see some of the keto businesses fail because they can't keep up with demand or they can't keep their prices low enough.
I think prices is a big issue. You know, uh, I had I had a conversation with Alicia at Keto Upgrade about because she started a keto bakery, and she's like, people have no idea how much cost goes into this besides just the ingredients, being 8 to 10 times the cost of regular flour or sugar. But you've got to rent out a kitchen or purchase a kitchen, and you got to buy insurance, and you've got to pay employees. She's like, people see a $20 loaf of bread and think I'm getting rich, and that's not the case. The margins are so thin. And I think so many people, and this makes me sad because I love small businesses. They get into it for all the right reasons. They want to help people out. They've come up with something great. They want to share it, and just the market makes it so difficult for them.
There was a local guy here I was friends with, and this is right as I was becoming keto in 2016. He had come up with his own pork rind company and was using one of the rent kitchens, and he even got himself in like the early iteration of a keto crate, and he was selling them at like breweries and stuff around town, but they were like $5 or $6 for an ounce and a half, which is just like out of reach for most people.
Yeah. When
It
you
was
can
a
go to
great
Dollar
product.
General and, and get a great big bag of pork rinds.
Yeah. I got a couple of questions here.
Okay. I'm trying to pay attention to
Jen.
you, so I'm not watching the chat window so much.
Oh, that's
Although
fine.
I
That's
am seeing
fine. Yeah.
a lot of familiar faces show up, so I'm happy to see that.
So a good friend of mine, Jen, she actually over the summer we all rented an Airbnb and went down to Low Carb for Better Health, the
Excuse me, apologies.
conference. Oh, no worries.
That'll
And
happen from time
she
to
had
time
made
today.
me. She made some keto chaffles. Well, not. I don't think they had. They didn't have cheese in them, but she used your pecan sticky bun,
Mm.
and they were so good. I really like those a lot. And she's asking, what's the update on your, I'm guessing your latest keto chow flavor, but I imagine you're probably on some sort of embargo on that.
I don't know. Are you able to look at who's in the chat? Is Chris Bear
Chris
here?
could be here. Chris could be here. I don't know, but it's awful early for Chris and Miriam and
Yeah,
Lynette.
because they're out in Utah. So, but
Yeah.
he's an early riser. Um, so here's what I can say. There are two flavors. They have gone through production, and Chris has gotten the production samples. So that's sort of the process is he sends me the raw materials. I make the flavor. I send him a few bags of it, and the ingredients you wind up using, you get down to like less than a tenth of a gram, so you're using a jewelry scale. I look like a meth lab in my kitchen when I'm making keto chow. And, then he and Miriam and, maybe somebody else at Keto Chow, they try them out. If they like it, they're like, okay, good to go. Give us the recipe. And then they send it for, I think, a production sample just to see if what's made at volume, by the factory comes back the same taste or better than mine. And then if so, then they do the full production run and they create the bags and all that. And, for the pecan sticky bun, Chris and I worked on that bag together. These other two flavors, I haven't heard anything yet. So I don't know if he's working the bags or not, but he said probably within the next 3 weeks, he'll be sending me some of the production stuff, which means we could be looking at maybe late January for the two flavors. Now I've got about 6 recipes that I need to work on because I want them when they come out. I want people to use them in recipes in addition to on its own. I think that's what gives flavors, a lot of them, sort of longevity. So I want to make sure that I've got some flavors that are some recipes that utilize them at the time they're released.
I've been drinking the butterscotch hot.
Hmm.
And I don't know, it's strange, but it's so like kind of relaxing a little bit. And I tried chocolate last night hot. It was like a hot chocolate, just the regular chocolate. I have some of the core and stuff too, but yeah, so I'm excited to see your new flavors. I did try to sell Chris on Ecto Cooler, but he wasn't having it.
Maybe for April Fool's Day, he always does some flavor.
That would be mean because I really want it. I know it would probably not be good, but And let's see. She has another question. She says, "What's your favorite part of the Star Wars universe, show or movie or storyline?"
Empire Strikes Back. To me, that's the pinnacle of Star Wars. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of addicted to it all, but there was a book, an audio book. I don't think I finished it because it's crazy long. I think it's like called How Star Wars Changed the Galaxy. And one of the things that they talk about is to be a true Star Wars fan, you kind of got to hate Star Wars just because it seems like every Star Wars person just bitches and complains about like
Yeah.
every Star Wars thing. Like, well, why did this happen? And this makes no sense. And I just try and sit back and enjoy it. And I love the collectible aspect of it. I mean, oops, wrong way. So, you can see part of my Pop Funko little bobblehead collection back there. And
We
of course,
just
Grogu.
watched Andor with our middle kid. He comes over and was making us watch it. And I'm like, the one thing about Andor, it was a good story, but it didn't feel, I mean, it's obviously in Star Wars universe. It's all encompassing leading up to, I think it's leading up to Rogue One probably. I'm not super
Yeah.
well versed with it, but it's almost like an entire season of like a funeral march,
It's a slow burn.
and it's
Um,
very depressing.
oh yeah. I mean, well, it puts the evil in evil galactic empire. You know, it's prior to Andor, you looked at stormtroopers and they're almost like the Keystone Cops. You
Hmm.
know, now all of a sudden you're like, okay, the empire is, you know, a legitimately awful group of people. You know, they're not cute and cuddly. And you know, I think then helps establish sort of the oppressiveness that gave birth to the rebellion. You know, where eventually they said enough's enough. You know, it's time to fight back on a large scale and take our one big shot. So
We
that's
rode
my theory.
Rise of the Resistance over the summer, and our granddaughter was riding it with us, and the actors did such a good job, or like the cast members did such a good job, that she was giggling at them, and as we were walking into, out of being in line and whatever, he's like, and take your giggling with you. And
Mhm.
it was just like the cutest thing. And she thought it was real. She was 5 and she thought it was all real. Like, why are they shooting at us?
I'm
And
sort of as you're talking, I'm still listening, but I'm scrolling through just seeing who all's here. Yeah.
Neely's in here. I see
Yep.
Neely and a lot of people. Um, John Gugahan says, "Were you surprised at the strong reactions uh, to your first keto brick review video?"
Yeah, because people uh what's Sykes' first name? I'm drawing a blank.
Robert.
Robert. Yeah, they thought it was somehow a personal attack on him. And you know, they're like, Robert is such a wonderful guy, and his wife is so wonderful, and you know, here you are, you know, on a mission to destroy them. Like these bricks were sent to me by one of my viewers, said, "Hey, Steve, I'd love for you to review them." So I did, and yeah, the reaction, like it's one thing if you review something and it's a flavor of product, and you're like, "Hey, I don't like candy corn." Um, or Brussels sprouts. And it seems that the Brussels sprouts people get pretty uptight about that too, but you know, who cares? Uh, so yeah, I'm like, no, it was not an attack on Robert. You know, so I kind of felt bad. And then I got an email from Robert Sykes saying, "Hey, thanks for taking the time to review our product. You know, they're not for everybody, but I noticed in the video that you're heading out. Okay. She didn't want an on-camera cameo, I guess. Um, you know, he said, I noticed on the video the texture. There she is.
Hi.
She's off to go do a VFW thing or American Legion, one of the
Have a
two.
good day.
Wreaths across America for Christmas.
Wreaths across America for Christmas.
Yeah.
But okay, now I totally lost my train of thought. He said, "Oh yeah, it looked like the texture on those was off. Like maybe they you know, completely melted and then resolidified or something." It's like plus you know, those may not have been the flavors I would have necessarily sent you to try out. So let me send you some more. And he says, "You can review them or not review them. I don't care." And then he's like, "Also, how would you like to be on my podcast?" And I said, "Sure." And you know, we really hit it off. It felt like a total bromance. So I was glad that I had the opportunity to try them again and do another review.
That's how I felt, because we reviewed them and we were looking forward to trying them. And I knew going in that they could be a little chalky, a little, not so much candy-esque.
Yeah.
And, we didn't give them the best review either. And, Robert commented on on the video and said, thank you for reviewing it and such. And then I went in and bought the Bell's batter.
Okay.
And that was a lot better. I had tried that, so I decided to buy some and do a review on it. But I think the shipping in that does have had a lot to do with it, because when I tried it, it was much more creamy than when I got my own. It was actually really hot outside,
Mm.
so I'm guessing it had melted some and then re-solidified. It was more chalky.
Yep.
So I think that does have a lot to do with it. And the same thing for us with Keto Chow. Like, So my wife has a reputation of not liking anything. And enough to where when we did a review live on our Tuesday stream a couple of weeks ago for the peppermint, and she loved it enough that
Mm.
I was in Neely's chat like the next day or the day after, and Chris was like, "Hey, I heard your wife actually liked one of our flavors." So, I mean, and Keto Chow and Keto Brick, they do a great service to the community, and I always want to support them, and I don't want to be derogatory. I want to like all the flavors they send out. I want to like everything. But I mean, it's not going to be possible. Not everyone's going to like everything. And I think honesty is such a big part of it. And when I watched that review of yours, I watched it when it came out, and I didn't see anything in your review that lent me to think you were attacking them or being negative in any unjust way. I thought you were just giving us your honest opinion, which that's what I want from someone who's tasting something. I don't want them, to lie to me and say it's good when it's not.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed in comments, it's become very evident when someone comes in with a bias. Like on the resistant starch videos that I do, I get about a third of my responses are like, "Thanks for doing this. That I'm glad someone finally tested this, and they've got a little bit of data behind it." Then I have about a third of people that are like, um, okay, you're just trying to prove that it doesn't exist, that there's no such thing as resistant starch. And then I've got a third of people that are like, clearly you want this to work. You want to believe in resistant starch. I'm like, how can there be these diametrically opposed opinions on what I'm up to, when the reality is I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just curious, because you get, doctors and, wannabe doctors and internet personalities all making these claims about whether it exists or it doesn't exist. But I didn't see anybody draw any blood. I didn't see anybody with a continuous glucose monitor. They're just, and so from that standpoint, it's conjecture. I wanted to actually be a sample size of one and see what happened. And I was curious. If it works, great. I can eat rice. If it doesn't, fine. I'm perfectly okay with hearts of palm or riced cauliflower or lupini rice. So the outcome didn't matter to me. I just wanted to see what it was.
I thought it was fascinating because the amount of us who have access to a continuous glucose monitor is small. I think more of us should have them. And I believe, the prices are coming down to a degree. There's more companies making them. So hopefully more and more of us will be able to use them. But having someone like you with the reach that you have, putting the content out there, not just making the content, but taking days and days and days to make the content, because each of those videos took you 4 or 5 days just to test a slice of bread each day, or a bowl of rice each day, or a bowl of pasta each day. So you put in the work. So those of us who don't have the availability to do so, could at least get some of the data.
Well, and that brings me to another sort of bias that I see in the comments, which is, people think that I'm giving medical advice. I'm like, no, this is really more like for entertainment purposes. I'm a sample size of one, and your results may be different than my results. Just because something doesn't spike my glucose doesn't mean it won't spike yours. But if it does spike mine, then I think that's a big red flag. You should be concerned. So, if it spikes me, that's red. If it doesn't spike me, it's still sort of proceed with caution. Take a look at the ingredients, see if it contains something that you've had before that has either spiked you or not spiked you.
There's all that. There's so like like the Hershey sugar-free chocolates. Some people can eat those and have no issues. Some people look at them and they're running to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way it is. Like, something that impacts me impacts Chandra different. That's just the way it is. And I think if we're making content, we should be upfront, honest, and then the internet's going to internet.
Oh yeah.
I make a chicken cooking video and people are like, "You didn't wash your chicken. You're nasty." Okay, how do you know I didn't wash my chicken? I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's funny the things people get bent out of shape about. I had hit a point for a while where, and on any given morning, I start my morning routine, and part of that is getting into comments and like seeing, okay, what are the comments I've gotten in the last 12 hours? Uh, Two things I've subsequently changed about that. Now I wait to look at comments until right before I'm ready to work out. That way I've got some workout fuel. So when I'm all PO'd, I can crank out a couple extra reps. But also, I had seen and it's not a channel I subscribe to or anything. It was on not YouTube, Facebook. Some Facebook group. It was an air fryer group, and it just showed up in my Facebook feed. And it was this woman making soft-boiled eggs in an air fryer. How harmless can that be? Like, what angry thing could you say about that? Yet 80% of the comments were just absolutely toxic. And the people arguing about how to soft boil an egg. Like, it totally, on the one hand, it made me sad. And here was this woman who was just trying to share something like, hey, look, I have found a way to come up with, perfect, easy to crack and peel and perfectly, firm, white and runny yolk, soft boiled eggs. And she wanted to share it. I mean, that's, I think, what a lot of us do when we discover something cool, we want to share it. And here she is just getting absolutely eviscerated in her comments. So I felt bad from that standpoint. But I also then felt a little bit good that my comments aren't nearly that bad. I mean, I get a few a day that are kind of rough, but I not 80% of them. So yeah, just the internet. It's you got to have a bit of a thick skin.
You
to even
really
be out
do.
there.
And I don't even get that many comments. I don't get a lot of negative comments. So like when I do get a negative comment, I think it's a little more bothersome to me because I am a small channel. So when I do get a bad comment, I'm like, oh, and I got to remember it's not, they don't know me.
Yeah.
They don't, you know what I mean? So I just kind of have to just thank you for watching and move on.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a book from that one right there, because there's a little bit in that really changed my mind in terms of comments. So if you can hang on for just a second.
Sure.
I put this little Shock T spiky back pillow behind my back, because otherwise I start slumping in my chair. This is my comfortable position, and suddenly it looks like I gained 100 pounds the moment you're on a webcam and you start to lean backwards. But let's grab this. It's Becoming Bulletproof by Evie Pomporis, a former Secret Service agent. And I'm looking forward to lending this to my daughter, because I think Courtney could utilize it. So she says, if you ever find yourself struggling to identify whether or not you need to respond either in person or via phone, text, or email, ask yourself these questions. Is this a true emergency that requires my immediate attention? Is this a relevant issue I must respond to? Is this something I can ignore? Is my response going to invite unnecessary drama? If I don't respond, will there be negative repercussions? Are they trying to make their problem my problem? Am I being baited into an argument? And is this distracting me from more important tasks? And if you ask yourself, like, I should just put that up as, on my secondary screen. You can't see my hand. My secondary screen over here. Just as a reminder, whenever I'm looking at comments, okay, cycle through those 8 questions before your fingers touch the keyboard. And what you'll find is, I'll just, okay, thumbs down, move on.
Now, I don't know if you have a better solution, but as a person who gets a lot of comments, for me, when I get bad comments, those are usually the ones that I don't respond to right away. When I open up my YouTube analytics, it'll show me the bad comments over and over until I make them go away. And you can't make them go away until you respond to them, unless something I'm missing. So I don't know.
Yeah, here are your options to make them not show up on your radar anymore. Because what it has is it shows you the most recent non-responded comments. Yeah. So I wish there were a way to, like, if you just even hit thumbs down or thumbs up, it would quit showing up. So that way, you just, I don't want to give them a heart. That's all what I often do, just to sort of let people know, hey, I read your comment. You're going to get a heart, or you're going to get a reply if I like your comment, or, you're asking a legitimate question, or even, debating something, but doing it politely. that's how I react. It's a heart or a comment. Sometimes I miss some, but yeah, the other option is you just channel ban them. If someone is clearly an obvious troll and they're here to kind of stir things up and pick a fight, I'm like, I don't have time for that. So
I don't
see ya.
have, luckily, I don't have that bad of an issue. Sometimes they're just like, they're like, clean your stove, or like weird things, like, because there's like grease splatter. I'm like, I'm cooking chicken,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but yeah, I mean, there was another question in here. I think I didn't heart it, or let me see here. John Gugahan says, do you plan on returning to monthly challenges or things you'd like to work on in 2024?
Maybe. What I'm doing right now, it's less than 100 days till my 56th birthday. And my goal is to get back into the best shape of my life by then. So I've got, a journal, I'm counting down, by the day. And unfortunately with excuse me, perfect timing there with this bronchitis. I mean, it has put a big kink in like my working out. And I feel weak, and it's been not awesome. But there are a number of different things that I'm working on, and there's supplements I'm playing around with, and I'm also I started sorry about that. One of the things you may have noticed, not about me, but just the internet in general, is if you don't scroll quickly enough past any given ad, I guess it feels you're interested enough, and they've set the hook. So I paused on an ad on either Instagram or my Facebook feed for one of these cupping devices, these electric cupping things, like Michael Phelps, kind of popularized cupping back, the last time he was in the Olympics. You saw the marks on his back, that looked like he was attacked by an octopus. So those started showing up, and then I started researching it, and traditional Chinese medicine, and I thought, okay, I've got some issues that this might be able to fix, including shoulder mobility. So started using that, and started recording a video. But a lot of these things, whether it's a supplement, a dietary practice, an exercise thing, you can't just bang out a video. I want like a couple of months worth of use behind it before I release something. And very often 30 days isn't enough. So I'm not sure. There are a few that I've thought of, that might be interesting, just to see what happens. And but then again, a lot of the challenges that I think of, especially in terms of dietary type of things, they're not that pleasant to do. And if the outcome is bad, I've set myself back, in terms of inflammation or whatever it may be. So the really short answer is we'll see, maybe.
So I mean, there's like World Carnivore Month, which is January. Then there's always like people doing beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, or whatever it is, right?
Those just get to be challenging when you're the only keto person in the house. You don't have a partner to do it with. And it gets further challenging when you're also the cook of the house. And it gets further challenging when you're also trying to release recipes and product reviews on a keto channel, which means I would have to get a month ahead on content so that I would have something to release that's not pure carnivore or
Right.
beef, bacon, butter, and eggs.
Yeah. That's the issue. Like when I'm doing that, or I'm trying to like do beef, butter, bacon, and eggs or whatever, and then there's like, oh, I need to make some recipe videos. Me cooking a steak is super boring. No one's gonna click on me. Here's my steak. All right, I'm done.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but John has another question. He's asking if you have any plans for Lean Body Mind in 2024.
I have plans for it every year. They just don't come to fruition. Lean Body Mind was really supposed to be kind of a combination of different things. Just sort of life hacks, whether that's, oh, hey, here's a trick for cleaning, or here's a better way to load the dishwasher, or here's, my morning ritual. and here's how I, manage to be as efficient as possible throughout the day. And here's how, here's my workouts and things like that. And then also taking, I talked about process excellence and continuous improvement. How can you take some of these lean techniques like standard work or 5S or something like that and incorporate it into your daily life? And, so taking a manufacturing concept and putting it into your day-to-day life, whether that's, how do I organize my kitchen? And I wanted to start learning some animation software so that I could create, explainer videos and things like that. The challenge is that actually is more effort than serious keto because I got to learn new stuff, new software, things like that. And my hope was that serious keto would hit a certain size and a certain revenue amount that I could actually dial back a little bit on content on serious keto and put that energy into lean body mind. Well, something happened in the last year or so, whether it's YouTube or whether it's my channel or what, which is despite the channel growing in terms of subscribers, just the views and revenue haven't been there. And this is my full-time gig. This is what I do to pay the mortgage, and stuff. So I can't take time away from serious keto to invest it in something else at this point. As much
Yeah,
as I'd love to get
100%.
lean body mind rocking. That was lean body mind was really, that was the thing I wanted to do originally when I started a YouTube channel. Serious keto was just me experimenting, like, okay, I'm going to learn how to video edit and, learn about camera equipment and some of this stuff on serious keto. And no one's going to be watching it. So I don't have to worry if I screw up. And, once I've got those skills down, then I start up lean body mind. And it wound up at some point, serious keto took on a life of its own.
I think that's the way that it works when you kind of have a project you go into and you don't think it's going to be what you think it's going to be. Like some of my biggest videos are videos that I put out and go, well, no one's going to watch this. I'm going to just put this out because it was easy or whatever. And then that ends up being, the biggest thing. And then, you have hopes. Like I always wanted to do a channel where I talked about music and pulled in, new releases for the week and broke down songs. But YouTube being the way that it is, it's almost impossible to do that with copyright and all that stuff. So, I do more of the keto stuff.
Yeah,
And it keeps me accountable. Yeah.
I know it. I know what you're saying because it's like we're not one-dimensional people. Any of us. We've got multiple interests, multiple hobbies. I'm envious of channels that can just be like, hey, I'm going to make this Lego set. Like, wow, that would be super fun. And they got a ton of subscribers. Or what else? Like some of the VR channels, because I think VR is super cool. And I watch these guys, I'm like, wow, that channel really took off, and now they're getting free product from all these manufacturers. That would be cool. But you kind of gotta you can be average at a bunch of things, or pick a swim lane and just go for it. And to me, that's sort of what needs to happen with serious keto, and which is why I think I got overly ambitious with lean body mind.
So now do you feel differently as a creator with almost 300,000 subscribers as you did when you first, like with like 5 to 10,000 subscribers?
Not really. I mean, every day I'm amazed. I'm amazed that this has happened. I feel as lucky now as I did when I hit 10,000 subscribers. When I had my first video that got 100 views, and I said, "Oh, this is great," or the day I got my first actual comment on a video, it hasn't gotten old. It's sort of like living a dream.
Yeah, I mean, because you are up there with the top of our niche. So it's like you and Keto Twins and Neely and Dr. Barry, who's like the top echelon with subscriber count. And then you've got, I don't know if I'm sure you're familiar with Low Carb Love, Myra. Yeah, I think, then there's like, you start going down and there's like two crazy ketos and such. But I think it's an amazing community because even the biggest channels seem to be interactive. And, I've been to events with Dr. Barry and such and other creators. So I think it's really cool. And especially like willing to sit down with me and talk and answer questions. And
Well, I think first off, creating a community is important, and you do that through interaction. I get out onto some channels, not keto channels, because I don't watch, virtually any keto stuff. And I've talked about this in the podcast before. It's not because like I'm full of myself, like I'm the only keto channel worth watching. It's just I spend so much of my time working on that, like I want to break. I want to break from keto YouTube. By the time I've published a video, I'm ready to go and watch, like I said, what's the newest, coolest VR thing, or, just the meditative experience of watching someone assemble a Lego set. But when I get out onto some of these other channels and I leave a comment and I don't get a reply, I don't get a heart, nothing like that. I'm like, oh, what? You're too cool. You're too cool to respond to me. And then, other channels where I do get I get some, a comment or reply, or, hey, thanks, I appreciate the comment. I'm like, oh, sweet. Here's someone that cares. So, yeah, I think if you're not interacting with your community, then you don't have a community.
right. Yeah. That's one thing that I want above all else. So I try to go to meetups. Last year I went to Columbus, Ohio twice. We had 2 meetups here in central Indiana. We did like we rented a place, had all this food. We like the first one we smoked a bunch of meat. The next one was more of a pitch in, but we still smoked some meat. I went to Keto Palooza, which was super fun. And I went to Low Carb for Better Health in near Dixon, Tennessee, not too far from where Dr. Barry is. And the organizer of that actually having on in 2024. So hopefully talk about Low Carb for Better Health 24 and all that stuff. There's a question here from Matt Troyce. He's a fun guy.
Mhm.
Will
I
you be
love Matt.
tracking calories in addition to staying consistent on keto to get to your best shape?
No, that's probably a good chance I won't even track carbs. It's just not, after doing keto, closing in on 5 years, I know what I can eat. I know what I don't need to eat. And you hit a point, I think, where that just becomes too administrative. As much as I love data, there's only so much work I'm willing to go to, to track certain things. And that's not my deal. Like I said, if I got a continuous glucose monitor, I monitor my glucose, I monitor my weight. I track, my reps when I'm lifting. To me, that's all I need to do.
Have you seen or been interested in the continuous ketone monitors?
I haven't seen anything about those. No.
They came out. I saw them. I know Neely had one for a while, and Lindsay had one. Lindsay Murphy. They got them at KetoCon over the summer.
Hmm.
I think there's one company that has them. I think they're pretty neat. I don't think they're as expensive as some of the continuous glucose monitors either. But
And do you need a prescription for those, like you do for a continuous glucose monitor?
I don't think so. I don't know. Neely was in the chat. I don't know if she still is. She's got a farm to run. So I don't know if I know that they got them installed at KetoCon, which will be Hack Your Health this year, 2024. But I don't think you do. I think you can buy them directly from the company, but I can't SIBO, no prescription. CBO.
Okay.
Or SciBio maybe is what it is, I think. No prescription. I think that would be kind of neat because the ketones are such a kind of mystery to a degree because we just don't know. Because you can use like the urine strips, but they only work until you're like really, really in ketosis. Then they stop working. Um, and then there's like the breath ones, and then there's the blood ketones, like Keto Coach or Bio Coach or whatever it's called now. But yeah, but I don't want to prick my finger every day.
You know, to me, I don't mind pricking the finger so much. It's just like the cost of the strips, starts to add up, especially
Yeah,
if you know what you're doing. Like, I don't care if I'm, a zero point 0.7 for ketones or a 3.0 or anything like that. If I'm in ketosis, I'm in ketosis. That's good enough. But for those of you that own a Keto Mojo, and I'm not pimping for Keto Mojo right here, but anything where you need to draw blood with a lancet, it's going to sound weird, but you hit the right there underneath your cuticle, between your cuticle and your first knuckle, because you can set the plunge depth to like 1 or 2, like right at the very, the shallowest plunge depth on your pen, and you don't even feel it. You feel the click of the spring more than you feel the stab from the lancet. It's wonderful. Way better, than aiming for the side of your finger or the tips of your fingers or things like that. Especially if you're playing guitar, you don't want to be mutilating your fingertips.
yeah. I think there was a comment or a question here that said someone would like you to take your guitar down and play some.
Well, those are in the other room. I'm not even sure if they're in tune right now, but Colton has really been getting into music lately. We got a keyboard, and I've got Rock Band on the Xbox. So he doesn't quite have drums down yet, but he likes kind of playing on the keyboard. He likes grabbing my guitars and ukuleles and playing those and pretending like he's a rock star. So I actually, since I can say this because I know he's not watching, he's going to be getting a guitar for Christmas. So kid size, and that'll be good.
We got our granddaughter. She's a little older than Colton, but we go yard sailing in the summertime, and we got her a kid size guitar. It was like $5. It had like strap locks on it, like these fancy strap locks. I think that's worth more than we paid for the guitar. But she likes us. I have guitars, and she'll strum on mine when I'm in the office and such. And she likes it, and she likes to sing into the microphones that I have up in here. And but I mean, it's so cute. And then last night we had her a little later than normal, and basically we just had a watch party. We watched a bunch of Taylor Swift, so that was fun.
I honestly, if you played Taylor Swift's greatest hits for me, I would be surprised if I recognized 2 songs.
If you watch movies, I mean, there's more that I recognize than I thought. So I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard this. Like at the grocery store and a movie or a TV show, it'll pop into your head. Because I'm more into like heavier rock stuff, older rock stuff. Like I even do a live stream weekly with these guys called the Rock and Roll Rowdies, and they were in their 20s in the beginning of the 70s, and they went off and were roadies, road managers, tour managers, equipment managers, financial managers for everybody from Pink Floyd to just anybody. Genesis. Some of them were like, there's huge bands, and so we get together weekly and talk about that, and it's a lot of fun. Like I love music. There's not a lot of room for music in what we do here, but I try
Well,
to
and
find outlets.
yeah, somebody at one point had requested, that I play a little something on my podcast, and um, the problem is I have no appetite for a copyright strike on my channel, and you see some of even the bigger channels that are music related, like Rick Beto, for example, where
Yeah.
he'll break down like why is this song so good, and he
Mhm.
had done like a Cheap Trick song or something like that, and he's like, okay, I'm going to explain to you just from a musical theory standpoint what makes this song so good. And they hit him with a copyright strike, and he's like, listen, I'm a fan, I'm trying to tell people that this is great stuff, and now here you are, I got a copyright strike that I got to deal with. And I was like, okay, well, what could I play? And I like doing. I'm a big Pink Floyd fan myself, and I was going to do a brain damage. Because like y'all, I can finger pick that, but I'm like, Roger Waters,
It's one of the
doesn't have a
worst.
reputation for being an especially understanding person. So how can I do this in a way that wouldn't get me in trouble? So I did it on the ukulele. So it probably didn't trigger any mechanism within YouTube, where it listens for certain notes or something. But yeah, copyright violations. I
Yeah.
have no interest in those. So, I don't even, I make sure that, there's no music playing in the background, accidentally on, my Amazon Echo, that there's nothing on Spotify, just because you never know what YouTube and the algorithm is going to pick up.
It's like trying to record like do like a grocery store vlog or something like that because they've always got music. Costco's okay because they don't play any music, but most of the time, if I'm in like a grocery store filming, it's a quick vertical video for a short to get some new product or something that I wouldn't buy or whatever. But yeah, it's such a thing because I love Rick Beato. He's a lot of fun to watch. Um, and I love the way that he does break down and knows the chords and the sus twos. And I'm like, okay, you've gone a little too nerdy for me, but yeah, that's what I would love to have been able to do. But it's just so difficult. He's even testified to Congress over fair use and all that stuff. So let's see. I think we have another. She says, Neely says it was very informative to have the continuous ketone monitor. She's glad she did it. The company isn't great with customer service though, which is a bummer. So that's not fun. And Jen's asking, what are we doing Christmas and New Year's this year, as far as food wise? I mentioned because she said, what are we making?
Do you want to go first? Do you have a plan?
Well, well, to be honest, so Christmas Eve, I'm ordering Costco pizzas, so not keto, but I like it's Christmas Eve and I don't want to do dishes and I don't want to have any of that. I don't want to cook. I'm just going to order some pizzas and the kids can fend for themselves because none of them are keto. And then on Christmas morning, we are going to be do our Christmas afternoon when everybody comes to our house. We're going to do breakfast and I'm going to make truffle sandwiches with eggs and all that stuff so we can have a good time with that.
Okay. So I get all these requests from the family. These are all, oh, can you make this? Can you make this? Can you make that? So I know the things that I'm in charge of. One of the things I'm going to do is get some hanger steak, and I'll sous vide that, and then just give it a quick sear. And what we do is we slice that up and serve it a couple of different ways. Generally on little baguettes. So I probably won't be having that. But there's like a baguette with goat cheese and then a Meyer lemon honey mustard sauce, which I can make keto. So I just need to, maybe I'll have a chaffle or something as my delivery mechanism. I use that term a lot. The food carrying bread-like element. And then we also do like a bacon blue cheese barbecue version of that same thing. So it's just a little slice of baguette with the cheese and the meat and the bacon and some sauce, and it's an appetizer. Courtney wants raw oysters, so we'll have to go and get some of those. And then Courtney also wants beef carpaccio. And when I make that, what I do is I make an FDA approved version. So rather than using raw meat, what I will do is I'll get a tenderloin and I'll just cook it to medium rare, and then I'll chill it, and then I'll hit it with the deli slicer, pound it out, paper thin. We just line a tray with it, and then you put on your shaved Parmesan and some capers and some arugula and some olive oil, maybe a little balsamic, and then it appears raw, but it's been cooked. So that's what I'm in charge of. And then Courtney will be staying overnight on Christmas Eve. So Christmas morning, I promised her I would make crab cakes Benedict. So making some keto crab cakes, and then my almost instant hollandaise sauce and some poached eggs, and that'll be breakfast.
That sounds fantastic. I haven't played around too much with crab, like with crab cakes or anything like that with keto, but I really need to.
It's it's well, like everything, it's not cheap. I mean,
No, no.
everything's expensive now, but I went to Sam's and a little can of crab, lump crab meat like this, it was on sale for $25. So that's crab cakes are a rare treat around here.
That's what I miss. Like, that's one thing that I do miss is like the imitation crab. And I know it's like full of like, it's like, starches and basically like fish or whatever made into like, but I just miss it because it was so good and it was cheap. And it gave you like I mean, it really doesn't taste like crab, but I miss it anyway.
Yeah, it's crazy when you look at the ingredients and you look like I thought, oh wow, this should be totally keto and it's cheap. And you look at the back and you're like, whoa, where are all these carbs coming from?
Yeah,
On
there's like
something
11 or
that's supposed
12.
to be
Yeah.
made out of fish.
Matt has another question. He goes, and I don't have anything, I don't really know anything about this, but he says, are there any thoughts on raw dairy? He says he's lactose intolerant, but can have it just fine.
So it's too bad Courtney isn't here because she has hooked up with a farmer, not in a romantic way, but in a business way, and to start getting raw milk. And I'm not sure. I don't think she's getting like eggs or anything from him yet. But this guy had like I don't know how many months long waiting list, just so that you could get onto his client list and get raw milk. And she loves it. So I haven't had it yet, but yeah, it's too bad we don't have her on because she could answer that, Matt.
So I was curious. I mean, is there, because it's got all the lactose and everything in it, still raw milk. So, I mean, it would be the same carb count, you'd think, right?
Well, you've got both pasteurization and homogenation going on when you're dealing with commercial milk. And you also don't know, is this, well, probably the majority that you're going to get at a grocery store is all, factory farm stuff. They're not out being pastured and eating grass, the way ruminants ought to be. So, I think the first step is, you go to your local farmer's market and you see if someone's selling it, and then you get their card and you befriend them and, then start getting it. But, yeah, I need to have Courtney at some point bring some over so I can try some. I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. I don't even know. So I don't live far from farms, but I don't know, like the idea of going and getting like farm fresh eggs versus store bought eggs and the cost difference. I mean, I had
I bet you Neely could chime in.
oh yeah,
She probably has an answer.
well, I imagine her eggs are, her farm fresh eggs, but she puts in that that sweat equity to get
Yeah.
those.
If you ever read any of the books by Joe Salantine, and I realize that, he's also created a bit of a political reputation for himself, so I'm not going to dive into any of that, but just you read his books and it makes you want to be a farmer. He talks about, the quality of the meat from his farm, because the animals led a good life. They're out being pastured. They were living the life they were meant to live. And, it's like the eggs, people are just amazed, at a farm fresh egg, because of, just the color and the size of the yolk. And, yeah, I mean, it would be great. I wish in my neighborhood, we're actually allowed to have, I think, up to 4 chickens. The problem is all my neighbors have dogs and none of them seem to be able to control their dogs. And I think that that would be problematic. I wouldn't have chickens for very long.
I don't even know if 4 chickens would be enough eggs for us. Like, would it be worth, like, is the juice worth the squeeze at that point? Like, I know because we have an HOA and I don't think I mean, we have the space. We live, we've got a big backyard, but we don't have, I don't think the HOA would let us have chickens. Maybe. I don't really know. I don't even know if I would want to. I just want to befriend someone who has chickens and get their excess eggs.
Yeah.
She says she just started getting raw milk from a local farm. It's amazing, and the cream is so rich. And it's $15 a gallon, and it's worth it. That's crazy. Well, the only person that really drinks milk in our house is our granddaughter. We don't drink milk. I used to be a milkaholic. I used to drink a gallon or 2 a week. just by myself. There was another question up here. Let's see. Choosing to Live says, I noticed a can of flaked crab is much less expensive than the can of lump crab when making crab cakes. Why is lump crab preferable?
I don't know that I've seen flaked. To be honest, I've never gone looking for it. I just in most of the recipes that I've seen, probably all the recipes that I've ever seen and all the recipes I've ever made, I've done lump. So it's more, I don't have an answer other than just habit for me.
I think I would say that the bigger the pieces of crab, the more desirable it might be, and that's probably why it would cost more versus like, like almost like the shredded stuff would
Yeah.
be like in crab rangoon maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see. Someone says Brown Deer, Wisconsin doesn't allow chickens.
Yeah, that's north of me. I'm in Waukesha, Patricia.
The funny thing about my sister-in-law lives just adjacent to you in she lives in and I'm gonna forget what it is. What's the town right over from you?
Pewaukee, Brookfield, Oconomowoc, Delafield. Those are some of the closest.
New Berlin is where
New
she's at.
Berlin.
Yeah, so she's in New
The,
Berlin.
the accent is on a different syllable. It's Berlin. That's I don't know if that changed as a result of World War II or what, but it's New Berlin.
So whenever we go to Walmart, I think the closest Walmart is in Waukesha. And our kids one day were like, "Why is this place called Waukesha?" Yeah, so yeah,
No, our
it's a
big
nice little area up there.
the big claim to fame of Waukesha is it is the birthplace of Les Paul. So
Oh, that's cool.
electric guitar inventor, and in fact, his grave is I could probably from my father-in-law's entombment throw a football and hit Les Paul's tombstone. Not that I would; that would be disrespectful, but it's pretty cool. Same cemetery,
That'd be
and
really neat.
I mean, just there is so much. If you go to downtown Waukesha, its nickname is Guitar City, and like there's all of these like statues and things like that of guitars just all over the place, and murals, and it's pretty cool.
I know we've done something there. I think we've gone to some like 4th of July parade, but I don't know if that's downtown Waukesha or I don't know. I have not seen any guitar statues. I need to look for that. I know I've seen the bronze fawns on the Milwaukee River though.
Yeah.
Don't look too close at his face. His teeth are weird. I don't know. Something about bronze and the smile. I don't know. It's weird. Let's see. There was another. Let's see. Okay. Jen's asking, do you think we are into the keto era, meaning that we will see less new keto convenience products?
I don't think so. We're going to probably continue to see more especially as big companies that already make non-keto products. I think you're going to see more of them get into the market. And honestly, I don't see that as a good thing because I think they're doing it. They're going to do it with the lowest quality products that they can make, the lowest quality ingredients, because that's what they do with their other non-keto products like breads and stuff. So they're going to be using soybean oil, and they're going to be really kind of taking advantage of the leniency in terms of definition of fiber that the FDA allows. And what you're going to see, and you see it already, when people give me questions, they're like, I'm stalling on keto. I just can't lose any weight. It's not working for me. Like, by any chance, are you eating a lot of keto bread and keto tortillas? And the answer is almost always yes. It's just these products are probably technically more low carb than they are keto. And, even then, I think, some of the ingredients can be pretty sketchy, and as I showed in my 3-part tortilla review video, whenever I did like 26 different tortillas, some of them had a pretty substantial spike in glucose. A lot of them caused me inflammation, so I can wear two hats on this. One is the conspiracy theorist hat, which is, big food wants keto to fail, so they create products that aren't especially keto and label them as keto so that people try them, and then they're like, oh, keto doesn't work. I'm just going to go back to, the old products that cost half as much. And then there's the other part of me that just thinks, okay, these companies, they got big by using cheap ingredients and mass production. What would make anyone think that they're going to approach their keto products differently than their Wonder Bread?
I mean, and we see that too when bigger companies buy smaller companies. I think it was Kraft maybe that bought like Primal Kitchen, and their ingredients started to change.
Mm.
And like I really liked the buffalo sauce that they had, and they would sell it at Costco. And then I went and bought some more when they brought it back, but they had changed. They took they had taken out the cashew butter and replaced it with some kind of starch or whatever.
Mm.
And it taste was different. I mean, it was pretty similar, but it was like, and I understand. I guess they took out the cashew butter because of people who didn't want to eat it because they have nut allergies or whatever. But at the same time, they didn't really replace it with a product, with an ingredient that was suitable. They kind of went the cheap route, I think. And I don't know, like, how I mean, I feel the same way about a lot of the keto products. I'm glad they're there for convenience. So, like, if I'm having something, if I want something easy, then there's a keto, there's like a cheat, there's like even Walmart has a keto loaf now. You can get whiter wheat. It's not good,
Yeah.
but it's convenient and it's a little bit better than regular bread. I don't know, because I know that we're having the issues like with, say, Perfect Keto is not going to carry like a lot of their products anymore. You touched on that with one of your podcasts, and I reached out to my affiliate, and he has not responded back to me. So I'm guessing he's not no longer employed there. Just to kind of get like, hey, what are things going to be moving forward? And I have no idea, but I know
Yeah.
they're not going to carry the mac and cheese anymore.
Yep.
I don't even know if they're going to carry the Nola bars anymore.
They're not. It doesn't appear that they're going to carry the Beauty Plus Sleep collagen anymore. What they got to ditch is the reds. I mean, if I want to drink aquarium water, I'll get an aquarium.
That was funny. We did a review of it, and I said it tastes like Ariel's bathwater.
Ugh,
At least they sent us the blueberry one. It wasn't awful, but
that's damning with faint praise.
I mean, it wasn't great either.
Well, one of the things when we talked earlier about comments and sometimes getting nasty comments, and one of the things that frustrates me, and you get it, it's not just keto or carnivore or any sort of dietary thing. I think you see it in every community, is the self-righteous people that, if you're not doing it their way, you're doing it wrong. And I will do a review of a product. It never fails, where someone's like, you should make all your own food. If anything has a barcode on it, you shouldn't buy it, and all this stuff. And my response to them is, hey, you know what? I love to cook myself. That's my thing. I enjoy it, but not everybody does. Not everybody gets pleasure from it, or has the time, or has the aptitude for it, but they want to be keto. And for them, I do these reviews. For them, I'm glad that these companies are out there making products. Are they ideal? No, but they're considerably better than anything else that they would get, in the standard American diet, fast food, mass-produced food. So, yeah, I'm kind of two minds on commercial, products in that regard. There's part of me that is grateful for them. There's part of me that's a little bit suspicious of them.
Yeah, and I was excited because you got one of two boxes from Perfect Keto of the mac and cheese, because they had accidentally leaked that they were going to have it. I don't know whether it was an accident, a real accident, or a fake accident. But when I became an affiliate with them, they were like, well, send us a list of what you want to try. And top of the list was the macaroni and cheese. I'm like, I want that first and foremost. Send that to me. And they were like, they just ignored that.
Mm.
But yeah, so then when they sent it to you, I was excited. And I watched that video because I knew that I was going to get some eventually, but you tried it, and it was, the glucose response was good. So I hope that if they are no longer going to make it, another company, hopefully
Another company
somewhere
is.
on the line.
I can't
Another
tell
company
you
is
who, but they sent me some samples that are upstairs that I'm going to try out tomorrow night.
Oh, that's okay. So that makes me, it doesn't matter who it is. At least it makes me feel better that there's, because we've only got like maybe 6 or 7 boxes left in the pantry. And I was like, man, we're never going to get to, I mean, it's not, I mean, it's good. It makes me a little gassy, but I was like, it's still something when you want it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been like, oh, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and eat it real sparingly. But hopefully there's a, yeah, that makes me feel a lot better that there's another company going to step up to the plate with
Probably
that.
January or February.
Nice. So I'll be waiting for your video to find out who that is. And let's see. Cindy just wants to say thank you for giving me advice a while ago and not back myself in a corner regarding my channel name.
Yeah. One of the things that I say frequently is in terms of mistakes I've made, and I've made my fair share, probably the one I regret the most is naming my channel Serious Keto. For a couple reasons. First off, I'm not all that serious. I'm serious about cooking, but people thought, oh, this means, oh, you're super duper strict and militant about keto. And, I couldn't be further from that. I like to think of myself as pretty pragmatic. But then, what if you just want to do something low carb, a low carb recipe? And then people are like, well, I thought this was a keto channel. So if you can come up with something that gives you a little bit more wiggle room, not necessarily maybe including the word keto. The problem is finding a name that hasn't already been taken. I mean, there's sort of a series of things that if you want to truly monetize it, that you need to go through, which is, first you get out onto Google domains or wherever. I guess Google domains now has sold all of their stuff to, I forget who they sold their domain registration business to, but someone that I didn't want to, like Squarespace or something. I'm like, yeah, I don't know that I want to deal with them. So I transferred all my domains, over to WordPress. I probably own like 30 or 50 different domain names, most of which, have variations on keto and low carb, just because I wanted to lock them down for future. But, then get out and see, is there is that Facebook name taken? Is that YouTube name taken? Is that Gmail address taken? You get out onto the US copyright or not copyright, trademark database and see, has anybody taken it? And that's tough. You have to go through and, find something that is completely untouched that then you can lock down, and then you can create like all the social media accounts just before anybody else can, so that if it's someday I wanted to be pragmatic keto, which I do own the domain name too, I could. But yeah. Spend the extra time if you're ever starting a channel that you think you're gonna, or a website that you think you're gonna monetize, to really think through the ramifications of having that name long term.
Yeah, I couldn't get KetoSimple.com, so I just got beardedketo.com. So I mean,
now you're kind of locked into keeping that beard.
Yeah, I mean, with the logo and everything too. I don't know. I mean, I've had it for like 12 years, so kind of stuck with it anyway, I think. But I mean, you see that a lot now where like Keto Connect is going to be changing their name to just Matt and Mega, or Mega and Matt, however they go with it, because they've moved to Michigan and now they are on a farm. I don't even think they eat keto anymore.
Now, at some point, and they were one of my initial inspirations to go keto, because I got out and I was watching their early videos. I thought, oh, okay, I can do this. But, at some point they became more of a slice of life channel. Like, hey, let's everybody look at us, look at, our family, and this is what we're doing. And, at that point, I became rather disinterested, and I think a lot of people did. If you look at their channel metrics, they're creeping up on 1 million, and then it's just they've sort of backslid in terms of subscribers.
Yeah, and then there was another YouTuber recently that I saw. Her name was Keto with Sammy, and now she's just Sammy Rose. So she's taking keto out of her name, and you see that going. You see that in a lot of forms. In all, not just the keto niche, but all kinds of niches. So, we've been talking for about 1 hour and 20. There's one more question I think we'll take here. It looks like, what's your hot take on Ozempic? I know what my hot take is.
I think back to, it was probably the 80s. There was some, fitness center that Cher was the spokeswoman for. And, she said something, she was doing aerobics, and she said, if this body came in a pill, everyone would take it. And that to me, my take on it is not dissimilar to like liposuction. I mean, there are people that may, and Terry works at a cosmetic surgery place, so they do a lot of that. And there may be health reasons where you want to do it or whatever. But to me, it's sort of like, if you can take a pill or take a shot or something to get the results you want, are you really going to appreciate those results? Are you going to sustain them as well? When you put in the sweat equity into improving your body and your overall health, then I think you're far less likely to backslide on something like that. If I could just take a shot and lose 80 pounds, why would I care what I eat? That's my attitude. And if that comes off as being self-righteous, I apologize.
Well, I have a family member and people that I'm, know that are on it, or ones that are similar to it. Maybe I think there's a couple different names out there. But what that bothers me or scares me, and I'm not a doctor or healthcare professional or any of that stuff, so no medical advice here, but I see that like a lot of the weight is muscle mass and not so much fat weight loss. So that's scary, especially with my family member that's on it. They're older, so they need to be retaining more of their muscle mass as they get older and not losing it, because that's going to cause a lot of frailty issues and a lot of issues down the road that is going to be very hard to correct if they're even able to. So that's what scares me. That's my hot take on Ozempic.
I think
it's new and we don't know
if
enough about it.
like if say you're morbidly obese and you need that kickstart, like, hey, listen, I can't even get out and walk, until I lose a certain amount of weight, and so maybe you need it as a kickstart to lose some weight, so that you can at least then get a little bit mobile, and then start exercising and things like that. Because some people are just they're so badly out of shape that it's probably just feels hopeless to them. So perhaps for them, Ozempic could be the catalyst that gets them started towards a healthier life. So there's my backpedal from being self-righteous.
I think because my journey started with me being over 420 pounds, and there's a large sense of helplessness that comes along with that. And we discussed how weight loss surgery, my wife and I, and she's a nurse, and she was working in a floor that saw a lot of what happens 2-3 years down the road from weight loss surgery. A lot of the coming back in to have this fixed, that fixed, this complication, that complication. So we had a long-term discussion about how we can avoid doing weight loss surgery for me and start moving in the right path. And that's where we found low carb, which translated into keto along the lines. And I didn't end up needing the weight loss surgery, thankfully. But I think there's a lot of that out there where, okay, there's Ozempic, there's weight loss surgery, there's all these things that are options that people will latch on to, because again, people will take not necessarily the easy way out, but I think it's easy for us to look at that as the easy way out, because we utilize diet and we changed our lifestyle and we did the work. So it's easy for us to kind of get that self-righteousness and be, you should do it just like I did. But I always say, hopefully they understand the ramifications, but I don't know if they're being given that information. So
yeah, I mean, I've already given my opinion.
Yeah. So I just want to say thanks so much for being here with me today. I know you're busy. And I just want to say, is there anything that you want to plug, anything you've got coming out that you want to tell anybody about?
Keep your eyes peeled for my Keto Chow flavors in the new year. I'm also going to be a guest on the Sean Baker podcast in January, as well as Dr. Ken Berry's Proper Human Diet group. So I think that's, I don't know what that's a private video interview thing, but I've been told that eventually, they take all those, I don't know if they edit them down or whatever, but they eventually release them on YouTube. So I've got both of those coming up, and it'll be interesting to see how those go, because both of those gentlemen are parked fairly firmly in the carnivore area. And one of the things that I've discovered over the course of my channel, like 3 years ago, carnivores, when they'd leave comments, they're super chill. They're like, hey man, try, if you like keto, try carnivore, just give it a try for a week or two, see how you feel. To what happens nowadays is they're as bad as vegans, at least in my comments. So I'm hoping that my interactions with doctors Berry and Baker are more pleasant than they are with some of the people that leave comments for me.
Well, I've seen a lot of Dr. Berry, so I mean, I know he's open to whatever you need to do, and I know that Sean Baker is a person I'm kind of on the fence about sometimes. Like sometimes I see him post things and I'm like, that's kind of harsh or, kind of inappropriate maybe. But listening to him on like Rogan and stuff, he's like, this works for me, but I know this isn't going to be everybody. Not everybody can go full carnivore. That's just not the way the world's going to work. And he's like, I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it'll go well for you. And I'm excited to hear it.
If it goes well or if it doesn't go well, it'll be good entertainment.
Yeah. But again, thanks so much to everybody coming and chatting with us, asking questions. Thanks to my members. Thanks to everybody. And we'll see you guys next time. And thanks again.
Thank you.